Okay, here's that queen cage. So it's actually a Ukrainian queen, Carpathian. So it says Apis mellifera carnica ecotype, Ukrainian Carpatica population. So I bought 4 of these. The Saskatchewans weren't available at this time, so I've never used this type of cage before, so I'll have to figure it out. But for now, I'm actually just going to stick it on the colony and let the colony get used to it. The queen seems pretty vigorous. There's a lot of attendees in there, so it should be good. Just looking at the colonies I brought over yesterday, they're already foraging for pollen, and I'd say a bunch of the bees that are coming in have different colored pollens, which is great. So I have a feeling these colonies are gonna thrive here, and yeah, hopefully they grow exponentially, and then I can add seconds on them for the mid-June, late June nectar flow. So yeah, so it'll be a simple install, and then I'll go install the other ones. So this is the one that I made queenless yesterday. So right now the goal is just to introduce the queen, not release her. That'll be done in probably 3 to 4 days. I'm not sure, it doesn't look like there's a cork, so I'll have to read up on those cages to figure out how to the queen gets released with them. So typically I like seeing how the bees react to the new queen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the breather holes downwards. I'll read up on it and see if there's other ways of doing it. So there's space here for pollen patty, so the colony should be fine. So we'll see how they react to her. So this colony's basically been queenless for about 24 hours, so 20 so hours. You can see how they're migrating towards the queen cage. There's like a cluster forming, which is quite interesting. They're not going too wild or crazy, so yeah, they're not balling the cage. But they seem excited to meet the new bees. Again, yeah, I'll read up on those cages and figure out what the best way of releasing that queen is. So what I'll do is I'll leave the cage like that for probably a good 3 days, and then I'll figure it out after that. Okay, there's the cage. Stick it in the middle, and let's see how the bees react. You can see how the bees are approaching the cage. They're curious. They're not getting too excited. They're forming up around her, which is good. Not really balling the cage. And at this time of year, I guess colonies don't want to be queenless, so from a smell perspective, colony smells like dandelion, which is good. It tells me there's dandelion nectar and probably a bit of orange pollen coming in. So I'll do the same for the next colony, and you'll see that typically if you make them queenless and you introduce the queen like that, they this should be a fairly straightforward introduce. They might have started a couple of swarm cells, but for them to create the cell, transfer an egg over, it'll take a little while. So when I do release her before the 16-day mark from yesterday, I will have a look and make sure there's no queen cells or anything like that. So probably in 7 days I'll release her, probably in 2-3 days, and then I'll give her a few days and then I'll check her out. So in about 10 days I'll probably inspect the colony for swarm cells, or queen cells I should say. Okay, I'm gonna do the same thing. Queen's moving around. I'll just stick her in the cage. And then let's see how they react to her. Back, you can see the bees they're heading towards the cage there, so it should be all good. And if I just show you the lids. Have an indent there, so that indent is for pollen patties, so it gives me enough space in the center of the colony there to basically leave the cage there with the grids, the ventilation holes pointing downwards. It's in excuse me, the top of the colony, so it's actually the warmest place of the colony, so it's a nice comfy place for the queen to be.